this special meeting of the Friday, April 19th, 2024 Fitchburg Conservation Commission. And let's see, let's call the roll. Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Yeah.
Commissioner Tantanarwa?
Here.
Commissioner Christian?
Commissioner Christian,
Here.
are you available? Yes.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Christian is attending via remote. Commissioner Serfield in attendance. We have no announcements. We've got a hearing here to accept the report from the subcommittee, the Violations and Enforcement Subcommittee of 691 Mount Elam Road. Do we have any comments? Any comments? I'm sorry, I can't see anything.
Why do you have the glasses on?
I have pink eye and the lights are too bright.
What's the rationale? What are we meeting specifically for?
We are accepting the report from the Violations and Enforcement Subcommittee that has been working with 691 Mount Elam Road to resolve the violations.
And so there'll be a vote to accept or reject the subcommittee report?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's a yes or no vote.
Oh, okay. So I have some comments.
Go ahead.
Let me preface them by saying thank the subcommittee for their effort. But we could agree to disagree. The chair said the resolution reflected the best resolution based on the hand that we had to work with. I don't know what that means, but before we vote on any, that recommendation, I'd like to, one word to describe the agreement was accommodating. And I want that to sound loudly. 2 years ago we started. 4 months ago we gave grace period for the violator. I'm going to use that term because he's not an applicant. And 9 days ago, we advertised a hearing to accept the recommendation. And it's an emergency? I don't see the emergency. And I just got a hint, respectfully, I just got a hint that almost that someone in the audience wasn't welcome at this hearing. And it is a public hearing. But I don't know if you felt that way, but
I noticed it was being recorded, so I was kind of wondering as to why, if it's being recorded and, you can watch it on TV, why I shouldn't be able to be here. I don't know. But thank you for, I guess, still accepting me, I guess. I'm
not looking for it. These are my comments, and relax, sit back and enjoy. Accommodating. A half acre of forest was cleared in a Residence A district, triggering a stormwater management plan and in violation of the Riverfront Act and the Wetlands Protection Act. By the violator's own admission, the lot was for the storage and sale of motorized vehicles. The violator was cautioned more than a year ago to stop and seek approval from the Conservation Commission and develop a stormwater management plan. The gate and the fence were installed after given notice. Per the subcommittee request, the area to be restored was out to the 50-foot buffer zone. Ms. MacArthur was tasked with identifying the plants required. The plan was to be approved. My definition of restored is to its natural state. We don't have a restoration plan for Ms. MacArthur, so I don't know if the restoration plan is to its natural state. Might I remind you, it was a forest prior to the clearing. Completion date was June 1 with an extension available. That being a subject to a 20-day appeal period, which starts May 9th. so he could start May 9th, given a 20-day appeal period. So almost without question, an extension would be warranted. I don't get the emergency meeting tonight, nor do I get the June 1 date. It's self-imposed by the CONSCOM, and we gave a 4-month grace period to a violator, accommodation. So, further discussion. The Fitchburg Wetlands Ordinance identifies a 20-foot no-disturb zone. The Commission agreed that this disturbance would not have been allowed with an NOI. Money in lieu of restoration was the accepted resolution. I might add, this is a public hearing, and as much as we have a quorum, and the public has not privy to the subcommittee's recommendation. So no public comment could be taken today because he's not privy to the subcommittee's report. You've identified it as a buffer zone. The Riverfront Act would identify it as a resource area and not a buffer zone. It was stated that Mr. Coover was very reasonable, as were the commission members. Again, I'll use the word accommodating. Reference was given to the limits of our jurisdiction and other boards and their jurisdiction. City boards working together make for better decisions. I will use this in a reference, page 11, 178/8, coordination with other boards, Fitchburg City Wetlands Ordinance. The applicant shall provide a copy to the Planning Board, Board of Appeals, Board of Health, City Engineer, and Building Commissioner of the plan. The Commission shall take final action only after the above boards and the officials has had 14 days of receipt and their comments. So inclusion of other boards is paramount to good decision-making. And us making decisions with blinders on is likely to make a poorer decision than the best decision. I haven't seen a notice of intent to date. And so to allow a restoration plan absent a notice of intent, I was hoping that Herlin was here to provide one, that's all. I think the cart's getting before the horse. We're solving a problem and there's been no application. Nothing can really be taken, nothing can happen on the other end without a notice of intent. And, yeah, in terms of backing up, I said coordination with other boards. To me, that's paramount. And to exclude them or to say that we cannot consider what other boards say, I think is poor choice. Waivers. Any waivers to our Fitchburg Wetland Ordinance with regard to the 20-foot no disturb, and specifically with regard to the gate in violation, act in the public interest. And I have to question whether the resolution that they came up with was in the public interest. The CONSCOM reserves the right to require the applicant to show evidence that reasonable alternatives cannot be approved prior to giving him a waiver. Unless the applicant convinces the commission that the area or part of it may be disturbed without harm to the values protected by the ordinance. In a riverfront area, what is it? Well, any activities, unless the applicant, in addition to the otherwise applicable requirements in this ordinance, has proved by a preponderance of evidence that there's no practical alternative to his project with less severe effects. And very importantly, after taking into consideration the proposed property use, we must take into consideration the proposed property use. The applicant stated he was going to use it to purchase and move motorized vehicles in defiance of local zoning. He's allowed to do it on appeal to the zoning board. Absent that, his use isn't approved. And how the Conservation Commission can't follow our own wetlands. We have the cards that we were dealt are right here. You just have to use them. The applicant, burden of proof, the applicant for a permit shall have the burden of proving by a preponderance of creditable evidence that the work he has is acceptable and in the public interest. And then enforcement, 179:19, no person shall remove, fill, dredge, etc., or otherwise fail to restore illegally altered land to its original condition. Now, I recognize the Conservation Commission's ability to waive requirements, but why on earth would the CONSCOM waive them when the proposed activity is in violation of other boards, and we have the discretion to waive it or not waive it, given that information? Any person who violates of this ordinance may be ordered to restore the property to its original condition. Remind the Commission, 1/2 acre of forest land was removed, a portion of which was in our jurisdiction, maybe all within the 100 feet. And take other action deemed necessary to remedy such violations. Clearly, that's what happened with the subcommittee. They took other action. Municipal boards and offices, including any police officer or other officer having police powers, shall have the authority to assist the Commission in enforcement. So if we needed to enforce something, and if it wasn't performed by the violator, something as simple as a police officer could enforce our ordinance. Our ordinance, very good. And let's see, waivers from regulations. Such action is in the public interest. 1.5, page 4, such action is in the public interest. If anybody can convince me that the violation is in the public interest, you can do it after this hearing. The Commission shall require the applicant to submit a written justification stating why a waiver is desired or needed. Have we received it? Is in the public interest and is consistent with the intent of the ordinance. What constitutes a stream? A body of running water, including brooks and creeks, whether continuous or intermittent. I understand that the brook adjacent to the violation isn't on the USGS as a perennial stream. Matters little. I've only been there 40 years, and in the 2 droughts in those 40 years, 2 severe droughts, the water has been running. With regard to the setbacks, no disturbance zone was 20 feet, and no build zone was 25 feet. And those are in the wetland setbacks, new activities. No build zone means an area free of structures and impervious surfaces to allow the gated community within that no setback, no build, and no disturbance is in violation of the Fitchburg Wetlands Ordinance. And then we get to one that I was hopping on earlier, and lastly, the tree replacement. Any person, persons, corporations, or agency who removes any tree or multiple trees from land within the jurisdiction of the Fitchburg Conservation Commission, yada, yada, yada. The 2 significant trees were public shade trees on the roadway within the riverfront area. I'm not even going to mention the forested backyard that was removed within the riverfront, entirely within the riverfront, and within 100 feet from the riverfront, which is resource area and not buffer zone. And I was looking for a remedy on 2 trees and somewhat dismissed that it didn't come under CONSCOM's purview, but rather planning board purview. Respectfully disagree. I guess you know where I stand on the subcommittee's report. Again, I thank them for their effort and their energy, but I disagree with their conclusion. And for the record, I hope, should it come to appeal, I hope that all of my comments are recorded. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Donnelly. Mr. Valancourt, did you have any comments you wanted to add? Please go ahead and up to the mic and.
Hi, my name's Paul Valancourt, 746 Mount Elam Road. I've been gone for a while, so I'm just privy to a lot of this stuff that's coming up. I have been to a couple other meetings. I didn't know it was gone this far. Once again, Mr. Donnelly brought up a couple of good points as far as have these other boards been notified as far as their input? I didn't know. I know I did hear him say Board of Health, several others. Have they had any input in any of this possible decision you're going to be making today? Anybody want to answer that? Do you know if the Board of Health has been notified and, what, 3 or 4 other boards? I'm sorry, Mr. Donnelly. You mentioned like 3, 4 boards that should have been notified?
The Conservation Commission agent and the zoning board agent, the building commissioner, raised the flag 2 years ago. From that point on, no other involvement in planning or zoning. And that's by my contact with planning and zoning. They're not aware of any violations on the property. Well, it hasn't been brought to public attention.
So now, I'm assuming that the city and the violator have come up with a proposed solution to end this. Is that correct? That's correct.
Yes.
But nobody really knows what it is other than the city and the guy, correct?
Mr. Valancourt, the chair does not sit on the Violations and Enforcement Subcommittee, just for procedural reasons. So we can refer to the subcommittee chair.
Because it sounds like it sounds like it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission on a lot of this stuff. And I'm just curious as to whether or not, I mean, I've been up there for over 20 years now. And, you know, when I had to remove trees, you know, made sure you get all the legal and everything else. You know, I like the neighborhood, and I'd like to think that what I have to do, everyone else has to do. But, you know, I don't want to see deals made, or I don't want to say, I don't like to use the word punishments be lacking because, you know, it's just, well, he already did it, so let's kind of sweeten the deal. I mean, I know, I don't know if this is the right place, but I know I've seen several things done there, and that shouldn't have been done. I thought I could come here and get more answers as far as several different departments, but I'll probably go through several of them to find out about different things as far as him running it as a used car lot, so to speak, in a residential area. No runoff, you know, basically put a parking lot in his backyard next to wetlands and into a stream. So I guess that's pretty much what I have to say, but I hope that the committee thinks long and hard before they, and hopefully that the decision they make is in the best interest of the public and not an individual, because he already did it, and it's kind of like, okay, he did it, let's forgive him. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Valancourt.
Madam Chair, if I could comment as the chair of the subcommittee on violations, Mr. Valancourt, thank you for your comments. Commissioner Donnelly, thank you for your comments. I would just say that a violation subcommittee is tasked with coming up with a resolution to the problem. It may not be to the extent of Commissioner Donnelly's liking or other people that are involved, other commission members that may be involved, because we can't have everything. There's a difference between complete compliance and our ability to gain any compliance. So we find the middle ground. We've done that in many, many cases before. People that have had violations come before the commission and they say, okay, this is what I can do to remedy my situation. Not always, matter of fact, in most cases, probably not a complete restoration. We can talk about examples of that, but maybe not in this setting. But there is negotiating that is done all the time with violations as far as what is acceptable. This particular property, we asked the property owner now to come hire a wetland scientist, which he did, delineate the wetlands, come up with a plan that he's done. There is a specific construction timetable that has been set out. There are specific trees, plants, wetland replication plants that are all being included in this plan that was accepted, and there was a monetary penalty compensation that was applied. Again, this is something that we do all the time. Notifying other boards and all of that to get them to sign off, that has never happened in any commission or violation that I have been involved with. It's nice to say that all the boards and commissions, does the planning board tell us when they have a violation that might have something to do with CONSCOM? I don't see that, you know. So we operate to that extent somewhat autonomously. So the subcommittee has put together a recommendation. We do have a very tight timeline that we want this remedied by June 1st. And so that's why the special meeting today, to say, rather than waiting until our May meeting, the board, violation subcommittee board, has approved a plan. Mr. Kuba is in agreement that this is what he will do, and we want to get this done by June 1st. Now, we always look at this, that it is in the best interest of the city and hopefully of the neighborhood, because we wouldn't be doing this if we thought it wasn't in the best interest of our goals here as the Conservation Commission. So I hope we have that kind of understood. Commissioner Donnelly's, all of his objections are noted, and we thank him for his input. But the violation subcommittee is tasked with finding a resolution to a violation, and this is what we did, and that is what is before us today. So at this point in time, I would be prepared to make a motion to accept the violation subcommittee recommendation and move on with the planned remediation for Mr. Kuba.
Can we have a second for that?
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Christian.
I'll call the roll.
Can I kindly have an element of discussion?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Bell.
The point of my comments were to bring to the Conservation Commission's attention an ability of enforceability. On appeal, I don't think that the decision that you're making today on vote is going to be upheld.
And who is going to appeal? Can I ask that?
You can.
Who is?
Well, I don't know. The gentleman in the stands, myself. There's someone that's not here today who's in a direct abutter. So that's all. The point of this is that the decision you make has to be enforceable. And you can make all the decisions in the world if they're not enforceable, so you better think hard and long about this recommendation if it's enforceable. And that was, this isn't a feeling, although I have feelings. I went point counterpoint to our ordinance. Just follow the ordinance. And if you don't get called on it, there's no harm. But if you get called on it, and it's not enforceable, you lose. So my challenge to you is this. Would you prefer to defend yourself against an abutter who appeals or the violator? Because that's where you stand. You have to defend yourself against an abutter appeal or a violator appeal. Where would you rather be? That's all. And make the decision. Where would you rather be before you vote? And then go ahead and vote your conscience. I wouldn't deny you that at all. But be advised, that's all. It has to be enforceable. And how do you want to defend yourself? Against a violator or against a member of the public? Or a Conservation Commission member? And make a decision. No problem. No, it's no problem. I have to make a decision.
This is no different. If we want to talk, Mike, and at some point we can belittle this all day long, and that this is no different than other decisions that I have seen this body make as far as remediating violations. Followed all the same rules, all the same principles, all the same guidelines. So I would say today that yes, this is defendable because we have case history that we could go back and cite that this is not unusual as to how this remediation plan came about.
And Mr. Valencourt brought to your attention about precedent setting. I'll leave it at that. Violate, and you can get away with it. It could be worked out, and that's the rule. I just got off the phone with a developer. Said, "Go ahead, you could violate the conscom, and then just work it out after. No problem." That's been the history of a lot of boards, commissions in Fitchburg. Better to ask for forgiveness. Yeah, no problem. I understand it.
That has been in our history, and that's what we're trying to stop by doing this. We had a company build a bridge over the Nashua River, a federally protected waterway, and they walked away with a $300 filing fee. We didn't raise that much fuss or have this long a discussion over somebody tearing down a bridge over the Nashua River.
I guess nobody cared as much. I just happen to have a vested interest. I have a greater interest. Blame me for that.
So, Madam Chair, we have a motion on the floor, I believe.
Yeah, we have in a second. All in favor, Commissioner Donnelly?
Nay.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield votes aye. And the motion passes to accept the recommendation from the Violations and Enforcement Subcommittee. And there's seeing no more
Motion to
no more on the agenda.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor to adjourn, Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarowat?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Mark, motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Thank you.
The chair adjourns the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.